So about Sonic humor. Hello?
You know, the disgusting comedy is like dissecting a frog. The frog dies and people get bored.
Great poem, keep working on it. Hello?
Talking about humor is like dissecting a frog. It's boring.
Hey, I like dissecting frogs.
Yeah! Okay, I want to go in deep and highlight a few specific jokes from callers that fascinate or bother me. So, Eggman's robots. I really liked Orbiton at least. Together with Professor Pickle, the few jokes I appreciated from that game. Him being the tortured servant of an oblivious Eggman. However, Eggman is extremely self-aware here, and Orbit has become too lazy to really attack Eggman, so he's more generic. I find him weak. Still, a lot of people like their interaction, so I suppose there's still a bit of their character dynamic somewhere. But then the newcomer, Cubot. Okay, here's a joke a lot of people liked, but that really confused me. Cubot's voice chip.
Y'all reckon you'll be able to get yourself enough of that energy in that dang planet?
Yes, I reckon I will. Where is your new voice chip?
Confused you? It's just silly fun. The robot accidentally has the wrong voice and talks strange. I think the voice actor does a decent job doing cowboy impressions and such.
You're not going to complain that it makes no sense for Eggman to have made that chip, are you?
No, though that is a point. No, here's my problem. Why Cubot? I don't know him. This is literally the first game he's ever been in. When I first heard him talk like a cowboy, I didn't go, ooh, he talks like a cowboy. What's happening? How can this be? This is so wacky. No, I mean, this story takes place on an evil theme park, so of course there's gonna be a robot that talks like a lame cowboy. He's like a parody of a theme park mascot. A lame guy to say dumb catchphrases and then gets knocked out or attacked by a bunch of random kids, that sort of thing. But he doesn't do any funny mascot things. He doesn't wear a cowboy hat, no parodies of Mickey Mouse or some mascot. There's no jokes. Him talking like a cowboy isn't a joke. It's something I expect a theme park robot to do.
But he isn't a mascot parody. He's Eggman's genuine sidekick.
I don't know that. Again, this is the first time we see him. It takes until more than half the game until the second voice chip is even introduced. Only then did I figure out what his point was.
Well, Orbot does mention the voice chip problem in the first cutscene.
Your voice chip is stuck on cowboy again.
Oh, right. Yeah. Still, I don't know him, so I don't have a frame of reference to tie the joke on yet. Look, listen, Darth Vader working as a holoc salesman. I know who Darth Vader is. I know that the occupation doesn't fit for what he is, therefore it's funny. I laugh. Random guy I don't know works as a holoc salesman. So, good for him. There's no context. You know who should have had the voice chip problems? Eggman.
What? That doesn't make sense.
Think about it. Eggman's PA system in the theme park has the voice problem. So Sonic destroys a robot, Eggman's angry, starts yelling.
Curse you, Sonic! I'll get you next time!
But on the other side of the PA system, Eggman sounds like a lame pirate.
Oh, Sonic, my pet lad is swamped by your land-loving booty!
So Sonic does laugh, and Eggman becomes more angry, yells even more, "More!" And the PA system makes his increased insults even more silly. There you go, a joke. Eggman can actually be threatening and violent here, so he scores villain points. There's a context to the voice chip problem, there's irony, there's things. But now, all we have is robot talks like a cowboy. Whatever.
The thing I don't understand is when Cubot starts talking in a New York accent. He starts quoting gangster movies. Fair enough. But then Eggman gets angry about it, and during their discussion starts quoting gangster movies himself.
You talking to me? Yes, I'm talking to you. There's nobody else here, so I must be talking to you.
Well, the joke is that Cubot talks in gangster movies. Eggman yells back at him, but the thing he happens to yell ends up resembling a movie quote by accident. So as the audience is surprised that the insult Eggman yells at the robot happens to resemble a movie quote that makes the joke.
In order for that joke to work, the quotes should work within the context of the scene as well. That's what a pun is, to connect two entirely different situations together. But the whole, "you talking to me?" thing makes no sense here since Eggman and Cubot were already in conversation together instead of quickly insulting him from an anonymous position. Not to mention Orbot is there, so the whole "nobody else is here" thing doesn't work. So the whole quote literally has no meaning other than, "we're saying lines from a movie. Laugh." So the joke doesn't work here.
Exactly what I mean. Pontek and Graff's writing style in a nutshell. Imitating jokes without understanding how or why they usually work in their original context.
One thing I notice is that they often don't seem to remember their own writing. Like, when you start the game, Tails is the tutorial guy, explaining what wisps are and how you activate them.
Change forms with a cyan wisp. With super fast laser pull.
And then we get this scene.
Didn't you see? I absorbed those aliens and got powered up with, like, some kind of wild energy.
I find that hard to believe.
What?
Well, that's the separation between gameplay and story. Let's not worry about that.
Even so, they forget their own comedy setups all the time. They make a huge deal out of the Mac nose hair.
Baldy nose hair.
Baldy nose hair. Baldy McNose hair.
Baldy nose hair?
I'm totally calling him McNose hair.
And then there's never any payoff. It's a laugh comedy. If a character says something like, "I should never get hit by an anvil on my nose," something has to happen. He'll get hit by the anvil on the nose, constantly other things hitting his nose, or he gets hit by anvils all over his body except his nose. Something! Saying, "I will totally call him McNose hair," and then not have a payoff? That's a comedy crime!
A shame, really. It could have been a dramatic moment. Like if Sonic got hit by the hypno-ray beam and was hypnotized. And just when we think all is lost, he suddenly goes,
No, you won't get me down, McNose hair.
then boom! Not only is it funny, but even dramatic. His silly joke from before suddenly becoming this dramatic symbol of Sonic's own will and freedom versus the hypno beam. That's good storytelling.
But yeah, the Hypno Beam storyline is dead and goes nowhere, and so does the joke.
So I do have to sit through Sonic and Tails going through that, "Oh, McNose hair's funny, oh, I'm totally gonna call him McNose hair," banter. And then the one time a reprise of the joke would actually be good, be funny, have a point, they fail at it. It's just baffling. Or here, Eggman gets fed up with Orbot.
Fine. You're so smart, robot. You take care of this mess. Release the big boy. Hasta la bye-bye, suckers.
Tells him to deal with Sonic, then tells him to summon a robot instead, and then summons the robot himself so Orbit didn't do anything at all. What's the point? If I was the writer, the scene would have gone like this.
You're so smart, robot. You take care of this mess.
Boo! I don't want to fight him!
Hasta la bye-bye.
Now, Eggman scores villain points, Arbit is upgraded from generic comic relief bot to cowardly snarker, Sonic gets to be silly and have a playful moment with Eggman, much better interaction. But instead we get nothing.
I remember another scene where the writers forget their own joke.
All unauthorized photography, video reproduction, or shutting down of generators is strictly prohibited. Thank you.
Eggman, I am going to save this planet, and I am going to free these aliens. No copyright law in the universe is going to stop me!
Hey, that's my favorite joke!
Well, it is one of the better jokes, one of the rare jokes with layers, as there's three things going on all at once. Eggman says an amusing theme park quip, Sonic throws it back at his face, and then he says the word copyright, which is the most hilarious joke ever, apparently.
Anyway, so Eggman says, "Unauthorized photographs, reproducing video material, or shutting down generators is prohibited." And then Sonic says, "I'm gonna save the planet and rescue the aliens." That's the dumbest comeback ever. That's not what Eggman said at all. Shouldn't it be, "Eggman, I will shut down the generator, and I will make unauthorized photographs and reproduce videos. No copyright law can stop me!" Because then he's actually going against the copyright claim and throwing Eggman's claim back at his face. Now, nothing he says has anything to do with Eggman's statement. That's not how one-liners work.
It's like if Arnold Schwarzenegger is tied up in a chair and a thought goes, "Soon you will be fried." And then Arnold escapes and then grabs the guy by his neck and suspends him over a cliff with lava and then says, "Why no, good sir. However, I do intend to escape from here and save my family from the chief by shooting him. Good day to you, sir." It's like, what? You got a perfect one-liner right there and then you just say boring things instead?
Actually, that was funny.
Well, that's because I'm deliberately making fun of a wrong one-liner. The line in colors doesn't seem to be played in that parody of one-liners way. It's played straight. In fact, just look at what Sonic is saying. He's not even playing up or exaggerating Eggman's statement in a funny fashion. He's saying his intentions straight. "I will save those aliens." So it's not even a funny or interesting diversion. It's like he's explaining the joke. Just that will mean that the writers abandoned their own joke halfway through to explain it. Not just explain the joke. They literally have so little faith in their audience they replace the punchline with the explanation of the joke. Ah, fuck those damn kids. They won't get a joke anyway. Let's immediately explain it even before we finish the joke. Just wow, what a spectacular lack of faith.
I think you're over-exaggerating. That's not how the joke goes for me. Sonic's response is a bit dull, but you're really seeing things now. Besides, it's followed by a clever quip about copyright.
No copyright law in the universe is going to stop me!
Why? What's so clever about it?
That he worked copyrights into the joke?
And just because you know copyrights, because you have an opinion about it, makes it a joke? I don't get it.
Well, okay, laughing is a complicated thing. You're mostly thinking in classic straight jokes with setups and payoffs. But there's also another form of comedy which I called emotional response. It's what a lot of comedians do. They talk about something where people have strong emotions about, so it enhances their emotions, and because this happens in a context of comedy, it enhances their enjoyment.
So it's cheating! Not a proper joke, but brain manipulation.
Well, when you think about it, comedy is all about brain manipulation to begin with, so it's hardly cheating, it's more a different technique.
Okay, fine, you get a point.
So people with passion, that are politically inclined, that have strong emotions about copyright, with SOPA and such, hearing a confirmation of their opinion, especially from an unexpected place like a video game, it triggers a response.
I understand, but that's pretty weak. I'm sorry, but if they try to make me laugh with just a reference to something politically charged, I'm offended. Make a joke about copyright, fine, but give me substance, give me something more... I mean, Craig.com had an article about copyright, about the people from SOPA and such committing copyright law crimes themselves. That's funny, there's irony, hypocrisy, logical fallacies. More than just copyright exists. But here, they're just playing the crowd with that statement. It's like they're trying to create a meme or something. Memes are fun because you take things out of their original context to make them do something out of character. It's like a pun, connect two wildly different things in a clever way. If the source material is already tailor-made for the meme, it's no longer funny. Like a pun that means itself. It's just weirdly pointless. It's lame and pandering. Wish I just went with the Japanese version, which had no jokes at all here. Heck, no jokes at all here would be a great alternative for the entire game.
True, but that's you.
Yeah, so are we done nitpicking at jokes yet?
I can go on forever. Practically every joke in this game has a problem. The nobody can stop me quip.
Nothing will stop me. What? Sonic!
Who you calling nothing?
Oh yeah, they had to explain the joke.
Good thing too, because I didn't get it. Problem is, they tried to do a Abraham Zucker joke, like twisting a common phrase around, like the "Don't call me Shirley" joke.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
But the trick is, the pun immediately follows after the original sentence. This is vital because the pun confuses your brain. But because you still remember the original sentence, you can cross-relate it back and discover the joke.
Ah, but in the original clip, after saying "nothing will stop me," we get to see Orbot's reaction, then Eggman reacting, then the heroic music, and then the punchline comes.
Right. So I already forgot the exact word Sonic is making a pun about. That's not how you do it. You do it in one beat.
Very helpful. We think we know how I did it.
Oh, Howie couldn't have done it. He hasn't been in for weeks.
I don't know how he did it. How he couldn't have done it? Bam! Comedy beat. Set up punchline. That's how you do it. Not with a 5-hour break before the punchline comes.
Okay, but enough nitpicking about jokes now. We got the point.
It just baffles me, okay? Sonic Colors has nothing but jokes, but practically none of the jokes work. Those guys absolutely fail at understanding the most basic laws of comedy. Just what?
Most people enjoy the jokes. They do work, on some level.
Well, okay. Most of Dr. Eggman's PA announcements amuse me.
Please do not be concerned if you encounter any screaming aliens. The screams are how they communicate.
Whenever they don't over-explain the joke.
Sonic the Hedgehog, please report to the security office. We found your keys. Yes, that's it. We found your keys. No need to be ready for a trap, since we only want to return your keys.
The only one in character, the only one with the darkest streak, the only one using the theme park theme, the only one not constantly self-indulging. I like to think that's just Mike Pollock improvising, because everything else Pontek and Graf wrote is just so...
Yeah, and they were probably hired because of the success of Happy Tree Friends.
No doubt, but that show's success comes from its concept, the visuals, adorable animals getting killed. That's where the jokes come from, the visuals, the situation. So I'm confused why this show catapulted them into projects where they rely on clever wordplay and dialogue, which wasn't really the key of Happy Tree Friends' success.
Let's take a look at the writers in detail. Let's see what we can find out about them. Yeah, so we did some research for Ken Pontac and Warren Graf to see what they're like, their writing style, their sense of humor. We don't know about how Sonic Colors got about, who knows? Maybe they wrote an incredible story, but Sega censored it all away for whatever reason, forced to rewrite things in a hurry.
Well, Sega does weird things sometimes, banning Eggman Naga from Archie Comics for some weird reason.
So ignoring Colors for a bit, let's look at the writers. We haven't been able to find interviews or videos about them. Well, okay, I found one with Ken Pontac wearing a wig playing cards at a convention. Other than that, we know nothing about them in real life. We can only look at their work and get an idea of what they like. So, Ken Pontac first. He's the oldest, working in Hollywood mostly on visual effects, directing film graphics for commercials. Even worked on the visuals for a video game, Clay Fighter 63 1/3. His big project was a show called Bump in the Dark. Stop-motion clay figures having an adventure in a child's bedroom.
I remember that show. It's fun. Some crazy ideas, lots of action and noise happening. Jim Cummings even had a voice in it.
Of course Jim Cummings has a voice in it. Everything in the universe has Jim Cummings' voice in it. But it's fascinating, isn't it? Pontek comes from a visual background. His greatest successes are a visual stop motion and an internet show about animals getting killed. He's all about visuals. Then remember that I explained in the previous Sonic Dissected that the visuals and colors are dull and boring and underused. How come a guy that was literally born out of visual effects and got all of his successes about visual things happening suddenly end up writing a story and it's just non-stop people standing there just talking?
According to Internet Movie Database, Pontak wrote the occasional episodes for some TV shows too. Mighty Max, Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century, Reboot.
Actually, our friend Alex is a huge Reboot fangirl. She contacted an old staff member from Reboot to ask about Ken Pontak. Seems he sent in a script on a whim, but it was rejected. They did rework a song he wrote, but yeah, he didn't really work on Reboot.
Well, that's the problem when you have to follow someone's life through Internet Movie Database. Can't really see exactly what they did. Fortunately, sometimes the website does give out specific episode names he worked on. Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century, for example. Here, unlike Bump in the Night, there's not a lot of visuals. This is all about dialogue. So how does Ken Pontak write dialogue?
I saw the episode. It was fascinating, actually. Now here's a thing, a weird thought I always have when it involves Ken Pontak. I'm never sure if what he writes is supposed to be taken straight or with a pinch of salt. Like in this episode, there's a giant gorilla monster growling and attacking people, yet every character constantly talks to it like it's just a slightly agitated person.
I order you to let me go now!
Break it up, you two!
Yeah, the ape ends up being a transformed human, but the heroes don't know that. So, is that a joke? Is he making fun of stiff British people? Or is it supposed to be badass? Because it's not really played in either direction, it's just really weird. The climax of the cartoon, same thing. It's the dumbest detective finale I ever seen. The girl hiring Holmes solves the case by herself without any input from the detective. The victim attacks and defeats the criminal all by himself. And the criminal immediately confesses his crime for no reason. All while Holmes just stands there looking like a doofus. Is this a joke? A parody? Or did Pontak just want to spice things up, like an interesting idea? Let's give the cliché detective ending a twist. Because it's not played for laughs, not played for drama, not played at all. It just happens and it's weird. Same with Sonic. In Sonic Colors, Sonic's jokes are awful. Like, am I supposed to laugh with Sonic or at him?
Well, there's one scene where Tails mocks Sonic for talking to robots, so it's clearly a deliberate joke.
But that's the only time it happens. Sonic makes a lot more jokes, but those never get a reaction. It's not consistent enough to be a deliberate comedy element.
Well, there was this one joke that got a big reaction out of me.
There are no lines, and I've saved the best rides for last! At least let me stab your hand so you can come back in!
I know you're trying to be clever with this whole amusement park pun thing, but it's just coming off lame.
I mean, really, Sonic, of all people, tells Eggman that his jokes are unfunny. Eggman is the funniest guy in the game. Dr. Eggman is freaking amazing. And then Sonic, you know, this guy.
Hey, did somebody here order a clobbering? Are you sure? It says somebody ordered an extra large clobbering topped with everything. Okay, tell you what, I can't take this thing back, so I'll give you an extra large clobbering for nothing.
Yeah, that guy. He has the balls to say Dr. Robotnik, aka Eggman, is unfunny. Are you kidding me?
I know, right? Yeah, Eggman is cheesy, but Sonic is nothing. That's all he is. He sucks up the energy of others. Eggman has a mildly interesting quip. Sonic follows it up by just saying his intentions. Eggman has a mildly amusing quip. Sonic just shuts him up. He doesn't one-up Eggman, he doesn't have a battle of wits, he doesn't use the analogies of Eggman against him, he just absorbs the momentum of the joke and replaces it with an endless void, filled with nothing but his insufferable smug face. I suppose Graf and Pontek aren't responsible for animating Sonic's face here, but it's not helping. I just so want to punch Sonic in the face in this game.
So, Ken Pontak, special effects background, great success with animation projects. He's a TV writer. Since he only wrote 2 or 3 episodes per series at most, he seems to be a freelancer who just sends in scripts on his own accord rather than being hired by the studios. As I said before, it's tough for a writer to jump into a running series and make your writing fit with the rest of the show. So Pontak must have some skill in imitating other people's styles and sense of writing.
Yeah, I suppose you can see Ken Pontak mostly as a mirror, just mirroring other people's styles to fit in their TV shows. He has some creative ideas, but because he's treading in other people's shoes, he doesn't go far enough with them, making most of his creative ideas just confusing. Bump in the Night was the show he was the most on his own with, and that one was the most creative and solid thing I saw of his work as well.
I noticed Ken Pontac has a lot of compassion for his characters, or at least makes sure to write in a lot of things to soften situations up, like in Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century. They reassure us that the criminal won't go to jail but will get help and a friend that will listen to him and help him through his problem. That sort of thing. I noticed this in his other work, including Sonic Colors as well, with Sonic pushing Tails out of danger before the final boss.
Funny how a guy like that ends up writing a show like Happy Tree Friends, huh? As for Warren Graff, he's harder to figure out as he had a shorter career so far. He's always seemed to work in a team, and I can't find any episodes that are entirely his. The one project he worked on by himself, as far as I can see, is BMX, Triple X.
You look like you could use a wiener.
What I just say, bitch?
Now, to his defense, a game like that, with its concept mostly to insert juvenile jokes in the game, leaves little room for smart writing. And to Graff's defense, if you get hired to write a game, being a hungry starting Hollywood writer, of course you'll gladly accept. So I understand and respect him writing for a game like that. That said, it is still the only product we have we know for sure he wrote it. So if you ask me an example of a Warren Graff bit of dialogue, well...
So many sluts out there.
Just looking at that game's jokes for our entire impression of Warren Graff would be unfair, so let's look a bit more in between the lines. For example, Warren Graff was hired to write for BMX Triple X because of his work on Happy Tree Friends. However, Happy Tree Friends has 5 writers.
Yeah, Happy Tree Friends has more writers than animators, and a show entirely about visuals. What the heck?
So despite the fact that there's at least 5 writers, only Graff was hired for BMX Triple X. This means that either he's the most prominent main writer of Happy Tree Friends, or he was the only one that agreed to write dick jokes. A second clue we have about Graff's writing style is when we compare Ken Pontac's post-Happy Tree Friends work with his older work. Pontac's older jokes were usually typical Saturday morning cartoon jokes. A pun, someone falling, a strange situation. But since Graff joined him, I sense a huge increasement in those something unusual happens other characters pointed out jokes.
Classic animator behavior, finding humor and inspiration by observing people's behavior. However, most animators just quietly work their ideas in their head and get surreal and striking parodies, while Graff is more blunt and obvious about it. Hey, this lady's not very nice. Hey, Sonic talks a robot. When I think of Warren Graff, I think of a jock, a bro. He starts with killing animals and making jokes about balloon animals having sex, and then he's transferred to writing children's stories, and he's all nervous and defensive about it. Oh, look at the villain, isn't he stupid? This is your hero being an idiot. Why would you watch a story with him?
Didn't we say somewhere that writers often model the characters after themselves? Makes me think Sonic and Tails represent Ken Pontac and Warren Graff, right? So Warren Graff is essentially Sonic, doesn't take the adventure serious.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we spend our time.
Thinks that talking in an instant way with cool phrases is a joke.
Best boss beating ever.
And loves his own jokes.
And Ken Pontac would be his Tails? Quiet in the corner, quietly trying to come up with a creative, smart story, but he fails. The machine malfunctions with awkward results, and his attempts to tell a joke are often indirect and awkward.
The funny thing, it was first translating as horrible body odor.
Yeah, I hate that about Tails in this game. He always says his jokes indirectly. Jokes need to be fresh, happen on screen, not done in a, you know what happened to me yesterday kind of way. So what it all boils down to, again, I don't really know them that much, but from what I've seen, I get the impression that Ken Pontac works the best when he's doing visual slapstick humor, and is very generic when it comes to telling a story. You can write a harmless but forgettable TV show episode, but Warren Graff is a real problem to me. He seems nervous and uncomfortable, and as a result, the writing becomes pretentious, constantly breaking the fourth wall. People always tell me, it's about gameplay, ignore the story. And as I said back in chapter 10, cutscenes will affect gameplay. They do. In Sonic Adventure 2, Eggman calls Sonic.
Sonic, I have Amy at gunpoint.
Oh no, I have to save my friends. Boom, level starts. Give momentum, a rush of adrenaline. When the level starts, I'm all like, gotta go to Eggman, gotta save Amy, big confrontation's coming, let's go, wow! In Colors, it's the climax. Sonic and Tails think they're safe, but Eggman has one final desperate ploy. The big climax, the big finale. I'm supposed to be all pumped up, but then...
I got a bad feeling about this.
Good, so it's not just me.
When I feel the ground shaking under my feet, see plumes of dust rising and rubble tumbling and aliens running for their lives, yeah, I get a bad feeling.
Yeah, blah 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 blah. How is that supposed to pump me up for the climax? He's all pretentious and break the fourth wall. It sucks all the energy out of the situation. It's so ungodly annoying. Sonic is constantly underscoring everything. I know it's silly, but goddamn, have some energy and tension. Look, here's the exact same joke. I have a bad feeling about this. Why? Same joke, but now there's energy and still a sense of tension. Not to mention I let the audience discover the punchline themselves instead of putting the damn movie on hold for 10 minutes to explain it in horrible detail. And why constantly explaining jokes? If it was some complex satire, you could explain it. I can explain my own jokes for 10 minutes, but I'd actually have things to say. Here the jokes never become deeper than McNose hair.
Baldy McNose hair. A joke worthy of boring McWriters?
Oh look, it's Alex interrupting the video.
Boring McWriters.
Wow, she's real life while we're animated, how weird. And we're explaining jokes even though we hate that. It's so irritating to have an interrupting guest in the middle of a review. But instead of not doing that, I'm allowing it to happen and drag it out to even more painful lengths by talking and explaining about it in great detail. Just pacing! You know what comedy is to me? What children's shows are. You know what makes Phineas and Ferb and SpongeBob and Adventure Time so popular? Passion, energy, this relentless optimism. Yay, summer vacation, let's do things. Hooray, we're on adventure, let's do things. Cartoon characters have passion, motives, energy, doing things. That's the life and soul of a cartoon. But Colors is so nervous, so ashamed of fun. Everyone is constantly underscoring their purpose in the story. Constantly bringing the story to a screeching halt to be pretentious and mock everything Sonic stands for. It may look cheerful and happy, but it feels empty and bitter. It just baffles me on so many levels. Mario used to be the boring, dorky, lame plumber, and Sonic is the awesome, fast-paced trickster. So why in the hell does Mario, when he does comedy, have this awesome, hyperactive, energetic slapstick stuff? Well, Sonic turns to a damn sitcom. This makes no sense to me. And look, I don't mind Sonic telling bad jokes. In fact, it could be awesome. The scene with Sonic and his clobbering with a fish, it would be hysterical if it was done deliberate. Then the jokes really was that Sonic's jokes are horrible, and he's confronted about it. The fish commits suicide and boredom of his jokes or something. That'd be hilarious. But the game, with the exception of one cutscene, never acknowledges Sonic has horrible jokes, and it looks like I'm supposed to take it straight. Really? It's okay to give Sonic flaws. It makes him human. Make his bad jokes a running gag. Make the character points. Great. Sonic X does an incredible job making Sonic a flawed, terrible person and creating drama and laughs out of his flaws. That makes him interesting, makes him fun. Here he's perfect, supposedly funny, and just smugging his damn face in front of the camera all the time, and it's just painful. I don't mind a simple story. I don't mind focus on jokes. Hell, Emperor's New Groove is my favorite Walt Disney movie of all time because it's the most lighthearted and joke-focused Disney movie of all. But Pontek and Graf can't write jokes to save their damn lives. And yet, a lot of people like Color's story and jokes.
Oh, Sonic Colors almost feels like a therapy. A therapy against Sonic 2006. Sonic 2006 went too far. We burned our fingers. It was too dramatic, too serious, too whatever. But we got scared so much that Sonic Colors is the result. It's distanced, it's nervous, it had no conviction, no devotion to tell its story. It's just this awkward. Oh, isn't this weird? Isn't this dumb? Isn't this silly? Oh, crazy Sonic, who takes him serious, right?
I don't think Graf and Pontek have faith in the material, and faith in the audience. But even so, I myself have even less faith in them.
Now, I like Sonic Colors. I like its mocking of itself. Bit of self-awareness never hurts. Nevertheless, while we love to mock Sonic 06, attack it, pick it apart for its flaws, it's interesting to think about. Like, let's think about what Sonic 06 has done to us, we as the Sonic fans. Did that game terrify us so much that we are left with nothing but indifference of any other story? Are we nervous just at the idea of a good story being told? Not talking about dark stories, but does even the idea of a simple story like Sonic Adventure or Sonic Riders scare us if it's not written by people constantly undermining their own story, constantly shooting the characters down and mocking its own essence?
Did we all become hipsters?
Who knows, but hey, it's too early to judge Lost World. Maybe it will be great. Maybe that game will have a devotion to tell its story. Well, see you next time.
So long, Captain. Whatever.
Theory, I think. Well, that concludes the series of videos I had planned in preparation for the new upcoming Sonic game. Unless I decide to have another go at comedy, I think it's about time we finally get to talk about Sonic 06, huh?
Yeah, been a while since you promised that. Well, on to next time. Cheerio!
But I have a whole lot of animations I need to finish for my 10th anniversary, so I don't have any time for more Sonic Dissected for a couple months, unless I do a very short one. So don't expect any new videos until November or something, sorry. But to pass the time, there's still the Facebook thing devoted to discussions like this. Go there, you can trust the moderator. Here she is battling a parrot.